Is Dhoni's legacy in trouble? It's a difficult topic because we are talking about an iconic figure of Indian cricket. We are talking about a great captain, a great player, a player who has won titles for India, who's revered. We are all fans of his. I still remember that uh, 2011 World Cup final, which India won, and the way he hit the last ball six. And a lot of people in this country who saw that match live still get goose flesh. So it's difficult to talk about Dhoni, but we have to talk about him because he is nearing the end of his career. He has retired from all other forms of cricket except for the fact that he is still in the IPL. This IPL season, as you all know, has gone very, very poorly for Chennai Super Kings. It is last on the table. Dhoni's own performance as a batsman has not been on par. When you talk about his captaincy, certain issues were raised by critics. But above all, the point I would like to work on in this chat with Sandeep Mishra, who's our sports editor and a very experienced man who's seen a lot of cricket, a lot of Olympics, a specialist in hockey. I want to get in Sandeep's point of view on Dhoni, and please believe us, we are both great, great fans of Dhoni. And I'm not, hopefully, I don't want to sound defensive, but it is a bit of a hard discussion on a man's legacy because Dhoni did appear as if he wasn't match fit. He has come in for criticism from various quarters. Many thought that this would be his last season for the IPL, but it's quite likely that he will continue playing for the next season. So, Sandeep, my opening question would be that when a man looks back at his own legacy, they all want to go on a high. At least that is the bookish example. And for the years and years, I've followed cricket as a huge fan and lover of the game, besides producing shows with you. I always thought that there was only one man who stuck to my mind, and that was Sunil Gavaskar, who knew when to go. It wasn't Sachin Tendulkar. It wasn't even Rahul Dravid. Kapil Dev, who is now saying that Dhoni might not be match fit for the next IPL. He himself, the way he struggled to get that 400th wicket in Ahmedabad, all these guys, all these big guns had an issue leaving. So when we talk about Dhoni, what is your initial take on this?
I mean, extreme sadness. I mean, to see like this, because I mean, the way you said about 2011, and since the time when Dhoni has come in, and since this time he won the T20 World Cup and subsequent tours, he's done well. Of course, he's had a few bad tours as captain, and then the point that I'm trying to make and emphasize is that every time he has walked off when we least expected him to, but that is a call that he's always taken as a cricketer, as an individual, and that's how his respect and the kind of iconic status that he has in Indian sport and world cricket especially, that's how it grew. And now to see him like this, and now to see him overextend, and I do believe when I actually said the word sadness, it was because I, as a Dhoni fan, which is a cricket fan, and I, as a professional sports writer, I'm not trying to bring both these views together, but somehow I'm forced to, in a sense that I want to see Dhoni succeed, and I like seeing him succeed because of whatever we have seen in the last decade. And now to see him like this, I think he's overextended it. That line he has crossed where now he's open to criticism, and for anybody in the cricketing world to say, hey, I don't know what he's doing on the pitch, and that's a line that should never have been said about MS Dhoni.
So here we are talking about a man who was known, like you said, for his sense of pragmatism, a highly practical and a highly intelligent man. He knew when to move the right coins forward. He knew how to excel in man management, which player, for example, to be used in the death over, no matter how inexperienced that person was. All of that he knows, and I distinctly remember in one of the chats that he had, he said that after I retire, I do not wish to sit in the com box because I do not want to comment on other players. I don't want to criticize them. That is not what I'm thinking. So for somebody who's that practical and who knows that his best years are behind him, he's 39 years old. He doesn't play any other form of cricket. After the 2019 World Cup, in which we got knocked out by the Kiwis, and his performance was criticized to a considerable extent. Even Sachin Tendulkar said he's no longer that same finisher. So Dhoni knew he was on his last legs, and once he quit competitive international cricket, one thought that he would just move away from the game, leave a legacy of what Dhoni can do, and probably add to the game in his own capacity later. But that is not happening.
Uh, I mean, one really thought that he will walk out. One could have understood if he was playing domestic cricket. One could have understood that he was building up. I wouldn't say Jharkhand because his status and his footprint in so many ways in cricket goes across the country and into it seeps into every thinking that we have of Indian sport. And MS Dhoni becomes much more than that. To see him like this is, of course, as I said, extremely sad. But one really did expect that he would have done much more for the sport rather than playing for Chennai Super Kings in this manner. And now, when the news comes through, as you said, that he's also going to be captain for the next season, I'm really doubtful because if you're not going to play cricket through the year, if you're not going to play a sport through the year, you cannot pick and choose one tournament and then hope to succeed in that. Sport doesn't work like that. It's never worked like that. You look across sport. People don't just come and play a tournament and then go back and sit for 10 months or 9 months and then hope to succeed. I don't think that's going to work. And it's not going to work in Dhoni's case. It's very, very evident right from the World Cup that we saw till now. And this whole COVID thing and the way sport has turned out, you need to be much more mentally alert. You need to be much more physically alert. It's not like old times. Things are bound to change. I wish we see him for a season in Ranji Trophy trying to bring this sport back to, at least in terms of Jharkhand, in terms of Ranji Trophy, and do much more in other spheres than to wait for the 2021 IPL and do something which is happening right now, what we are seeing.
Going back to the IPL 2020 season, and we've both tracked Chennai Super Kings very closely this season. A couple of things stand out, which I just want to recap for our viewers. One was that there was criticism that this is an old dad's army, aging players at the top, except for Faf du Plessis, hardly anyone else fired. Second one was that the opening combination rarely ever worked between Murli Vijay and Shane Watson. The middle order was brittle. Dhoni himself was no longer the finisher, nor the same batsman as before. And then later his comment that, well, we have young blood, but I didn't see the spark in them. Now, I know that you gave your comment a while ago, and you and I differ on that point because you sort of bagged Dhoni that, well, if he didn't see a spark, then he has the right not to play them. I agree there. But to another extent, where I disagree is that this is all about young players coming in, about young legs chasing, young talent being blooded. And in an IPL team, as we know, that there are 7 Indian players. So there's enough opportunity to play around with them. What really went wrong with that team balance and composition? And where do you hold Dhoni responsible?
I think in every aspect. I mean, if you really look at the way the management speaks about Dhoni and the way CSK looks at Dhoni, I guess he's invested into every corner of CSK's management, CSK's team building, CSK's team meetings. Everything revolves around Dhoni. You cannot have CSK minus Dhoni at the moment, at least. When it comes to the younger talent, I think he probably spoke a little too soon. There was this Shrikant controversy, which was again very stupid for a man of the status of Shrikant to come in and start firing, without any rhyme or reason. Dhoni didn't react to that. But when you watch Gaikwad now, I mean, you see a beautiful player. I mean, there's hardly. I mean, in cricket, you rarely you would call somebody beautiful when you watch batting like that. I saw the last innings. I mean, it was amazing how easily he bats. So much time. I mean, his shot selection is amazing. So maybe Dhoni made a mistake there of looking at those initial scores of 0-0-4. I think that's what the initial scores were, if I'm right. But the two big decisions were the Raina and the Harbhajan. I don't know what those decisions were. They're being called personal, and I don't want to stir any controversy over here, and I would let the personal decisions be personal decisions. But I think there is something there that doesn't really sound too right, and I think that's where most of the issues started off. And it's very simple to say that the team had a couple of COVID positive cases before moving into the IPL tournament. It could be. But I think the team selection and the way this team has been put together, I think Stephen Fleming's comment last year after the final was very clear that he wants a new team. When I say a new team, means fresh blood. Why was that fresh blood not included when Stephen Fleming pointed it out last year itself? You can go back and check on YouTube's and everywhere. That comment is there where Stephen Fleming says that the team needs to be changed. Why wasn't it changed? Only Dhoni and CSK can answer.
A couple of blunt points. Is there pressure of money that Dhoni has signed this juicy contract and he doesn't want to let go? Of course, he's made tons of money, and his bike collection and Hummers and what have you, they're legendary. His business interests are talked about, massive money in endorsements. But a very simplistic question: that how much money does a man need? So Dhoni came from very humble backgrounds. He transformed his life through his own talent, and what a magnificent job he did. Kudos to him. But now, is it only the money that is keeping him in the game?
I would really want to believe that it's not so. I mean, it's just not money that Dhoni. Ultimately, after a point, I don't think money really matters to them. Of course, I mean, unless you do something, I mean, you've invested into so many areas where money is not being made, and then you're being forced to create more and more businesses for more and for which more and more money is required. But again, we can go back to the IPL sponsorship deals that he has 200, 250 crores for the season only. I don't think if he plays Ranji, like I was saying, go and play Ranji. I mean, he's going to make any money of that. I mean, not even a quarter of that. Uh, I think at some point of time, business interests go over the individual interest, over the batsman interest, over the CSK interest, and that's what we are probably seeing. You look at any advertising that flows through the IPL, it has Dhoni. So there is a lot of money running on him. Now, whether that money is so important that Mr. Dhoni has to keep coming back and failing. I'm using the word failing. Now, that's going to be extremely sad if the money is making him fail and that he has to deliver in every IPL because there's money riding on him. I mean, this is something that probably he needs to look at, and his image is bigger than all the money that he has. I mean, we all treasure him in a way, and I think that's how we want to remember him.
I remember Mr. Amitabh Bachchan in his heydays did a cover story for India Today, and it was called One Man Industry. And those were, I think, the late 70s when he was at his peak, and there was between 1 and 10, 9, 1 to 9 was Amitabh Bachchan, then everyone else came in. And there was a question asked of him in that interview saying that uh, you're making a hell of a lot of money, they say, through endorsements, through this and that, through your movies. And where money is concerned, what are your aspirations? So he says, a man never has enough money. So Mr. Bachchan now at, I think, 78, 79 is still chasing a lot of big bucks and making it. Good luck to him. So can one extrapolate this for Mr. MS Dhoni also?
Of course, I think he has enough runs to kind of, I mean, to keep going back over a decade and keep thinking, okay, these are the scores I did. These are my individual scores. These are my T20 trophies. He's got enough IPL trophies out there. He's got enough runners of trophies for that matter. He has enough accolades in the sense that for most big cricketers in the world say that he's probably the biggest that Indian cricket has ever had. And all of that is true. It's up to him now to draw the line. It's up to him now to leave a legacy that younger fans of the game who have seen him in the last 5 years remember him as a successful cricketer, not as somebody who's come eighth or seventh in the IPL and who's bringing a team just because there's money riding on CSK or there's money riding on Dhoni's image. Dhoni's image as an advertising guy who's making money for so many products is nothing compared to what his personal image is. Dhoni's personal image for me as a fan, is huge. Is much bigger than all the hundreds of crores that he's going to make because he's already made it. And now what he leaves behind is those last bit. It's in a book. It's always the last chapter that really takes you over. And I think that's where Dhoni needs to come in.
So, Sandeep, let's wind this up. I'll bring up the last point, which has been going on in my mind for some time. I have seen that how some of our own cricketing greats have divided their time post-retirement. Some have gone on and on in the commentary box, mouthing inanities, hardly adding anything of value, but they are there because of their legacy. There are some like Rahul Dravid, who as chief of NCA is doing a lot of valuable work. There are some who become coaches and who lend value to the game. Some run cricket academies. Some like Virendra Sehwag have become comedians doing some weird shows and get ups and God alone knows what. Maybe there's money to be made there. But when we talk about a man like Dhoni, there is a lot of cricketing knowledge buried deep in him. There is a hell of a lot of leadership understanding which he has. He could be a brilliant mentor. So, are there any thoughts about how he can enrich not only Team India but an entire new generation which is coming up?
He's an intellectual. I mean, let's look at that point from the view that he's intellectual in terms of cricketing knowledge, and I don't see him as a coach. I don't see him in the commentary box. I really wish he never enters a commentary box because I don't want to see him there. I just want to remember as him as a great cricketer who did his time on the field and he's gone by. But yeah, I will not put it past him, and I really wouldn't be surprised if he enters the political field because I think that area is made for him. I mean, the kind of following he has. I mean, his following is very different from the Sunil Gavaskars, the Virat Kohlis, and the Kapil Devs. His is pure, genuine respect for Dhoni. I'm not saying that the other cricketers don't have respect, but if you get what I'm saying, his level is very different. The way we look at Dhoni is a man who's never going to make a mistake, who's not corrupt in that sense, who always does things honestly. And I think he's made for the political field if he ever intends to. The rest, I really don't think is a possibility. You won't see him at the NCA. You won't see him in a cricket academy nowhere. I don't think so.
So if he goes on to become the chief minister of Jharkhand at some point in time, it might break Gautam Gambhir's heart one more time, and that would be so cruel. But we wish Dhoni good luck. We truly wish and hope that he leaves an enduring legacy. We're all his fans, and some brilliant memories remain. Thanks, Sandeep, very much for the chat. And where our viewers are concerned, would like you to think about this and possibly give us suggestions as to in which way can Dhoni actually leave a very enriched legacy. Also, the point that Sandeep pointed out is that being a politician, a modern politician with some good thoughts, might be another way out.